Hello everyone, and welcome and good evening to, of course, those of you around the world. Good afternoon or good morning, wherever you may be. Of course, my name is Strifium here from Canada. It is currently 6:27 a.m. and we're here for round 7. It's the Russian Grand Prix, Misfits Racing League Action, of course, the Oceanic Division. So we are going to take a look at the circuit here. It is the lovely Sochi Autodrome, of course, and it is a 5.848 kilometer circuit with 18 turns, a couple DRS straights here as well for the drivers to utilize, but it is quite an interesting circuit to see raced, of course, Sochi. So we'll take a look at the calendar. Of course, we have had quite a few rounds of racing now this season, and we're here for round 7. Round 7 now of the Oceanic Grid. We have, of course, the Russian Grand Prix, and now we have Japan coming up next week, the US following that, Mexico, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. As we have a good chunk of drivers on the grid today, let's take a look at who is racing. We have Apollo Pepsi and Impulse over at Mercedes. We have Stars and Trin for Ferrari. Mikal and Panda over at Red Bull. We have Rez and Yukio for McLaren combined. YouTuber and Ruben at Renault. We have Wangod and Psycho for AlphaTauri. Zaino and Ben the Bear over for Racing Point with Revo and Moz at Alfa Romeo. And that's Big Al and Gozvieg for Haas with Simdogga and T-Mac bringing out the 20 drivers on this grid. Now we have the standings here in Russia. Things starting to get heated in the midfield. Take a look right now. Revo's leading the championship, 142 points. Ben the Bear, 98 points behind him, as well as Mikal there in third, looking to gain on the tie driver in second. And we have Big Al fourth, Wangod rounding out your 5 drivers here. Top 5, I should say. Alfa Romeo, Red Bull, and Racing Point, your top 3 constructors. No penalties after last week's race, which is fantastic. We always love to see that. So everyone is going to want to keep things as well clean as possible continuing into this week. So very, very thrilled about that. We're just going to take a quick second to get things all dialed in. We're going to find that we are good to go racing here around Russia. Getting all of that dialed in just now. I hope everyone's having a fantastic, well, evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. And I'm quite thrilled. I'm quite thrilled to have round 7 here with the Oceanic Grid. The Oceanic Grid's put on some very, very tight racing action. So I imagine around Russia we'll see more of the same. Of course, yes, I am by myself in the comms booth, if you will, this evening, and I am quite happy with that. It's been a while since I've had a chance to do a solo commentary. I like to think I excel at them, so we'll see how it goes. Definitely going to be a fun way to wake up, especially through this qualifying session. So I hope you guys are going to be happy to jump into 18 minutes of qualifying action here. 18 minutes of qualifying action. We have a 50% distance race with a near full grid here. Actually, it may just be a full grid here. I'm going to have to take a look at how many drivers we have once we jump in. But I am quite thrilled, and I want to see what the role of the dice is going to be on the weather. I genuinely want to see what the role of the dice is going to be on the weather here, because it is going to be a dynamic role. Waiting on Yukio, it would appear. Presently having a bit of a desync of some kind. Domi would appear to have had an issue. Alright, here we go. We have the 18 drivers on the grid. I think we are missing one in Domi. Take a look at it. Lining up for us on this grid today, we have Gazieg, Big Impulse, Yukio, Apollo, Pepsi is here, Combined, Panda, Ben, Ruben, Revo, PTR filling in for Rez. I think Rez may have stepped down to reserve, so it could be that PTR is trying to fill in on a regular. We'll see. Maz in 11th there, Wangod in 12th, Mikal 13th position, T-Mac in 14th. We have Trin, Alex Bido, Simdaga, Big Al, and now Domi on this grid as well. Revo, who I had a couple words with earlier this week. Not a lot of time, I think, around Russia. I don't know if he got his prep in shortly before the race, but he will be the first driver out of the pit lane here to bring us around a lap of the Sochi Autodrome. It is the esports development driver for Sauber. It is Revo, currently leading this championship by quite the margin now. Well, I'm quite curious to see how Ben the Bear fares against Revo here in Russia. Come through into this third sector, and this is where we can see a lot of issues, especially coming out through this left-hander, utilizing a lot of that curb. The drivers, sometimes they slip it. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities coming out of that straight as well into that right-hander, and I've seen quite a few incidents. Here we have Revo now beginning a lap. Coming out of that final turn now, DRS wide open on the rear, keeping it tight to the wall as we come through turn 1. Now this long run down into turn 2, utilizing that inside curve once again, and well, on exit as well. Now again hugging that inside. Very clean through. Wanting to utilize the curbs, not wanting to exceed the limits here. Again, tempting fate. That front right tire was just tight. And this is fixing to be quite a good lap already. First run of the session. Simdaga has had a major issue in that Williams. He has retired the car in qualifying here. Revo on a serious charge to get the first time set here, and it is going to be quite the time to beat. That we can guarantee. Powering up through the gears now, coming down into the final two turns, the final two 90-degree turns of this circuit. And how's it going to go utilizing those curbs to the line? It's a 129.4 coming out of Revo right off the hop. We'll see who's able to do better. Big Al comes across, so 131.4 in the Haas, and we have a Mercedes now, and Apollo a 131.339 coming from him. The Racing Point has just crossed to begin a lap. That is going to be the teammate of Domi. That is Ben the Bear. PTR, a 130.8 from the McLaren. And Maz has just jumped in a 132.3. 6 times now on the board. That's Trin coming through in the Ferrari P3, a 130.9. Multitude of other drivers now on flyers. Let's take a look at who we can jump on with. Mikal crosses into the front row. That is the Red Bull, a 129.873. Alex Bido in the Ferrari. He crosses third quickest here with 13 minutes remaining. That's a 130.1 from him. Panda now in the other Red Bull, looking to join his teammate. Not quick enough to do so just yet. That is a P4 from Panda for the time, a 130.622. Domi not actively flying, however, Ben the Bear is, and he is purple through Sector 2 in that racing point. On the medium compound tires as well. The line now coming out of the final turn. It's P5 from him on the mediums. A 130.7 on the mediums as well. That's quite a nice time from him. He'll be happy about that as long as he's able to stay into the top 10 with it. I do believe on those medium compound tires. Not too many drivers flying right now. And when I say not too many, I don't believe any drivers are actively on good flyers. Combined YouTuber, he went 11th quickest. He was on the medium compound tires. The only two drivers to set the times on the mediums are combined, and of course, well, Ben the Bear. Ruben now in the Renault now has just begun a flyer. We'll have to take a look on with the South African coming through turn 2. Ooh, bit of a slide there. Gets things under control though. Going to lose some time. I have not received a weather report. I'm thinking about that right now. If anybody in this race happens to be listening on the broadcast, feel free to pop into the chat and give me a heads up. I would love to know what we're expecting from the weatherman. And we have Ruben just barely tapping that tire and invalidating, and he's going to crawl back into the pit lane now. Get that get that car back in, get back out. Well, he will not be going back into the pit lane. He will be beginning a new lap as Impulse has just began. But it looks like there's been an invalidation upon starting this run. So he will not be looking to improve. I imagine not too thrilled about that. Alex Biddle pulled off there. We'll jump on with Yukio as Yukio and the McLaren flying right now on a valid lap time as well. Will be crossing the line soon. There's a racing point ahead. That is actually Domi on an invalidated lap. Back to Yukio. I'll have to see if Domi begins another one or if he jumps into the pit lane here. I do believe he's going to be beginning a lap, as it may have been an out lap considering the fact that he joined the qualifying session in progress. We've had a couple of bugs where we've been able to determine whether or not a driver is actually on a lap. Here we have Yukio now through the final turn. What's the time going to be? P8, a 131 flat. Take a look in with Ruben. Invalidated once again for him. Alex Biddle behind him, fixing to begin a lap. Domi on a flyer will ride along in the racing point, and then we'll switch back on over with hopefully Wangod and T-Mac on some valid flyers. We want to see them get some times in, of course. And the Bear giving Domi a nice tow here. A very nice tow. See if it's enough to net him an extra position potentially. Went down through the penultimate turn, now through into the final turn, the racing point. Domi and Stroll's car today. What's the time going to be? It is P5, just jumping ahead. And now here we have it. Here is Ben the Bear beginning a lap, and he's on the softs. One key thing to note, Ben the Bear currently in P6 on this timing tower, 130.785, 300s off of his teammate. Except his teammate, Domi, was on the soft rubber. Now it's Ben the Bear's turn. We'll check back in with that in a moment as Gazieg, who has no time set, is on a flyer ahead. Another thing we can talk about is Wangod. Wangod jumped into P4, a 130.3. We were going to jump on him as he was on that lap, but as he's now finished it, unable to do so. And T-Mac had to jump into the pit lane here. So Ruben, Impulse, and T-Mac all yet to set times. Gazieg's working to get his on the board. We've got 7 minutes remaining in this qualifying session for these drivers to get that time through, and of course the rest of the drivers to improve on their currently set time. Gazieg through the penultimate turn now, just crossing that pit lane entry. How's it going to go through the final turn? He gets a time on the board, but it is not good enough to get him through out of 15th position on that timing tower. It was a 134.1. Let's look on with Ben the Bear now. Ben the Bear, after getting that fantastic tow perhaps from Domi, has unfortunately invalidated the lap, so he's actually had to come into this pit lane to, well, reassess his options, we'll say. ETR P8 presently on the timing tower, looking to improve, as are a few other drivers on this grid. Take a look at who could be improving at the moment. Looks like Combined on the way into the pit lane here, looking for drivers that are soon to cross the line and, well, get a new time set on the board here. Revo's just begun a lap. His teammate Maz is flying through sector 1. Impulse has just begun as well in the Mercedes, and Impulse has taken this opportunity to run these medium compound tires to get his lap on the board. Of action happening on circuit right now. Big Al coming through the penultimate turn. He's up 2/10 through sector 2 according to my information, and it's going to be up half a second. He moves into that final points position, that 10th slot here. Neatly done from him. ETR now. Massive improvement coming out of the McLaren. What are we going to see at the line? A near half a second improvement for the McLaren as well. 6th position, a 130.435 out of PTR. Things are quite spicy on this grid. Gap to leader is not that much at all, and DRS does play a role here in Sochi. Revo on pole position. He's flying. What is he able to do as he comes through the penultimate turn? Now through the final turn, the Alfa Romeo. What can he do? Can he improve? Yes, he does. A massive improvement coming from Revo here. A 128.980, a near half a second improvement. We saw the drivers in the midfield doing it, but I don't know if anyone was expecting the, well, the pole sitter to pull out half a second. Very nice lap there from Revo, to say the least. Impulse now has had to come back into the pit lane in the Mercedes. Ruben has begun a flying lap. Another run on the same tires. T-Mac as well. T-Mac on a flyer. Ooh, big extension there coming out of T-Mac. And a cut to follow that up, and you can tell he's just not thrilled about that at all. Ruben behind him will be looking to get that time on the board, and he'll be, I think, one of the last drivers to get that opportunity here, considering where they stand on this clock. Looks like Domi is up ahead, not too far, waiting for Ben the Bear, and Ben the Bear is on a flyer, and he's going to be looking to improve massively, but he's not going to, not this run anyway. Big invalidation there, and they're so common here in Russia, these invalidations, these penalties, these exceeding of track limits warnings. They come across so much here in Russia. Wangod moving through. He's on an outlap right now. Ruben does get a time on the board. It's a 131.4, the Renault. I wonder what we're going to see out of Tire Strategies here, as I still haven't been given the full weather report. I have absolutely no idea what's coming for weather here, but all I know is we've got two drivers that set their fastest laps on those medium compound tires, and that's Ben the Bear and Combined. And Ben the Bear hasn't been able to improve that lap time on the softs just yet, but I do believe he will be flying around again as we come through the penultimate turn. There we have it. He has begun a lap. Right along with the Thai driver coming down through turn 2 for this, what will hopefully be banging lap, but he has Revo to contend with. Revo hasn't been struggling in this session and has been putting out some very, very fast times. Mikau is just shy of 1 second off of Revo, considering the gap to leader right now. I'm gonna find it. 0.746, the current gap to leader from P2. The rest of this grid, however, much tighter than that. Less than a second separating drivers from second. Realistically, all the way down to 13th. Crucial for Ben to keep this lap clean here. He may have just done it. He's got 2 more 90-degree turns to go. Down through the final on the inside now. Big improvement, massive improvement. That's front row improvement for Ben the Bear. That is P2 for the Thai driver, lining up next to, of course, Revo. Mikau has just begun a lap behind him. His last run. His last opportunity. He has an Alpha Tauri just ahead of him. That is Wangod. Great lap from Ben there. Very crucial improvement. Gap's the leader now. Just 2/10. But Revo is on a lap. That's Maz just ahead of Wangod here. And Revo's had a retirement. Just coming outside of turn 3, it would appear. Turn 4, perhaps. In that Alfa Romeo, so out of the session, but it is pole position for Revo. Wangod on for a very good lap here. Coming through sector 2, up nearly half a second. Sector 3 though, can he hold it through sector 3? Couple drivers coming around the final turn now. PTR has caught the checkered flag. There goes Wangod, P4 with a 0.545 improvement out of the Alpha Tauri. Mikau behind him. A 129.726. Still the fastest lap coming out of Mick here. Alex Bido, no improvement, it would seem, coming from the Spaniard. Ruben, no improvement coming out of the South African. And I think we are looking at the final qualifying grid in this session. It is Revo on pole position, Ben the Bear in second, Mikau rounding out the top 3 with Wangod in 4th, Domi 5th, Alex Bido in 6th. We have Panda 7th, PTR in 8th, Trin in 9th, with Big Al rounding out your top 10. We're going to go down through the grid in a few moments once again, of course. But drivers now, 18 minutes they've had to get a time in here around Sochi. They've now had that opportunity. 18 out of the 19 drivers present getting that time in. It was Simdaga who had an issue of some kind coming through turn 3. Seeing him out of this qualifying session early, and you hate to see it when these drivers can't get times on the board. But Sim, of course, currently 11th in this championship. He will have the opportunity to get some points. This race has quite the dynamic capability. Safety cars are most definitely on the table. And as I don't have a weather report, I'm not entirely sure what we are going to be seeing in this race. So I'm quite in the dark here when it comes to the weather. Once again, Revo on pole position. Ben the Bear lines up next to him in 2nd, with Mikau rounding out your top 3. That's Wangod in 4th, with Domi rounding out your top 5. Of course, we'll go down through the rest of this grid on the formation lap. My name is Strifium here from Canada. Currently 7 minutes to 7 a.m. here in the morning. So I hope wherever you may be tuning in this afternoon, this evening, you are doing well. And we have quite some doom and gloom weather here settling in around the beginning of this race. You can see the clouds. No raindrops, however. I can see some soft compound tires on display in the Mercedes garage. We'll have to see how the weather plays into this race. I like rain. I'd love to see rain. The drivers, however, I imagine, would definitely not like to see wet conditions. Of course, if you're just tuning in, thank you so much for being here. It's round 7 MRL Oceanic Action. Hit that follow button if you're new. Share the stream if you're excited for some racing. Get your friends in, because I think, as always, the Oceanic Division is going to impress with hopefully some clean racing and some tight overtaking. Formation lap now for these racers. Soft, medium, soft, hard is the suggested strategy. Now, a lot of these drivers, they swear by the softs being the great starting compound tire here. A few drivers starting outside of that top 10 have chosen the mediums. Yukio, Apollo, Maz, Impulse, as well as Simdaga, all opting for those medium compound tires here. The rest of this grid, not a single driver on the hards. Everyone else on those red-rimmed soft tires. And the key thing here is I think these soft compound tires burn out fairly quick, especially in a grid as tight as this, because when you're battling, you're putting extra wear on those tires. And, of course, one thing we've got to talk about is who is racing on this grid and where. We have Revo, Ben the Bear, your front row. Mikhail Wangod in the 2nd row. Wangod, well, he's been really challenging Mikhail this season so far. Mikhail hasn't been able to do much with that AlphaTauri in his rear view. They had quite the battle in Hungary, and the rivalry has been carrying on. Alex Bido there in 5th. We have Panda 6th, Mikhail's teammate, of course. PTR 7th, Trin 8th, Big Al in 9th, and combined rounding out your top 10 racers here. Combined having a decent qualifying in Singapore last week, had a very, very unique race start. He'll be looking to have a better one here today in Russia. Yukio in 11th position. We have Ruben in 12th, Apollo 13th here. Of course, T-Mac in 14th position behind him, just by a bit. We have Maz and Impulse as well. Gazieg, Simdaga, and Domi. Now, it was Simdaga who didn't get the time set, but as Domi joined qualifying late, due to a disconnection of some capacity, he will be starting at the back of this grid due to an issue preventing drivers who join qualifying mid-session from actually getting their qualifying time sent through for the race. Alfa Romeo, Racing Point, and Red Bull top 3. That Ferrari of Alex Bido, I imagine, going to be wanting to charge through and get that Ferrari into the podium. But it is going to be Revo, the Sauber Esports development driver here for Alfa Romeo, leading us away off of this grid. As we've seen him do so many times already this season, he's had quite the great showing. But all of these cars now, Domi, the last of them to get to this grid to line things up. And we are ready for round 7 here. It is the Russian Grand Prix. Welcome in. Let us know your predictions, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights here in Sochi. And it is going to be lights out. We are racing around Russia. Revo off the line here. Ben the Bear immediately hunting him down, and he might get him already. Wangod and Alex Bido are wheel to wheel, and there is no exchanging just yet, no contact, but this is where it happens. Coming down into turn 2. Revo leading through Ben the Bear. There goes Mikhail with an extension. Things clean so far on this grid. T-Mac with a great exit out of turn 2 has Yukio in his sights up the inside. Now there's Combined and Ruben having an exchange, as well as Mikhail and Wangod in an exchange for podium position. A VSC has been deployed, and I'm not entirely sure why, but there has been contact. Massive contact, debris all over this circuit. VSC has been deployed. Let's take a look at the cars now. Well, Apollo, I'm not entirely sure what's happened with Apollo, but he's got massive damage. Severe collisions coming up through this grid. VSC conditions, drivers are required to slow things down, and I'm not entirely sure what happened throughout that grid to cause an issue at that point in time in the race. But we are back to green flags now. Alex Bido's got a problem named Panda in P6 hunting him down quite tight, but Bido has other plans for Wangod ahead, and this train has begun. Simdaga and Combined exchanging right now. We're going to check in here. Gazieg is in on this. Simdaga has plans. He wants to get in through 15th position. A lockup, though. Here we have the Renault around the outside looking at Gazieg. Is this going to be a move for Combined? No, not yet. He has some serious problems. That's Big Al. Big Al gets through on his teammate very, very quickly here, and now there's been a major issue. What has happened with Revo? Well, it's not an issue. It looks like it's just Ben the Bear has made it ahead of Revo for the time being. Mikhail's actually in behind them, but as he is the host of this lobby, it's showing him leading this race, but I can assure you he is in 3rd position. His teammate hunting down 5th. T-Mac and Domi would appear to have had an exchange, as Big Al is hunting tight for Simdaga in 13th. Waiting for things to kind of iron themselves out on this grid as the timing tower corrects itself. Domi on a charge here, looking at the Ferrari. That's Trin in 8th position, under threat from the Hungarian, and Domi's had some good races already this week around Russia. Trin with that racing point in his front left rear view mirror now. This is going to be Domi around the outside into the next turn, already clear of the Ferrari. With a very neat move, Mikhail is going to be looking to stick with Revo, and Revo is starting to lose time, I think, a little bit here to Ben the Bear. Revo starting this race on pole position, has dropped back to Ben. Of course, they have swapped, and Ben is flying a 134 flat out of the racing point. Mikhail wanting to use that DRS to keep himself with this fight for podium position. Jumping on with Alex Bido. Alex Bido is just less than 6/10 away from Wangod ahead, and he's got a charging bull behind him in Panda. Panda has PTR etching closer within a second. Now we've got an exchange. Simdaga and Big Al. Big Al ahead of the Williams down into turn 2. There's going to be a major overtaking zone here in this race with the utilization of that DRS. Apollo is struggling massively in this Mercedes right now. He's had to come in already, get a wing changed, get onto some fresh hards, and it looks like it's going to be another pit trip for him in that Mercedes as well. Yukio has DRS on Ruben ahead. Ruben also had issues, and you can see that there's only been 3 drivers in this race that have pit. It's Ruben, Yukio, and Apollo. And Yukio will be looking to catch up with the South African quite quickly here. Combined in 15th position on softs is looking to catch up with Simdaga right now. Simdaga on those mediums. Of course, Maz and Impulse joining him in starting on those compound tires, and I believe it was Ruben, Yukio, and if I'm not mistaken, Apollo, who also all chose to start on those tires. There were a few that chose those mediums, and there aren't that many remaining here. Mikau, 133.8 now, the fastest lap coming out of the Red Bull camp. Domi is having a look at PTR around the outside, coming down through turn 2. Are we going to see the move done? And that's a big exceed coming out of Domi here. PTR still ahead on the outside. Wheel to wheel between these two drivers. Domi once again around the outside. Is he able to get this done? There's a little bit of a nudge maybe, but he is going to move on through ahead of PTR. Bido takes a 3-second time penalty just ahead after multiple warnings, and we are going to see penalties come hard and fast now as we move through the rest of this race. And it looks like Impulse has had an issue in... Well, has he had an issue, or is this Big Al just getting mugged by... What has happened here? Impulse, excuse me, has not had an issue. He's just overtaken Al, combined in the Renault. Let's see what he's able to do. Soft compound tires, DRS now for him. Simdaga also going to have that DRS, that rear wing wide open, if you will. Now it's going to be the Renault. Does he have a lunge to the inside? No, he holds on. Some patience coming out of combine there. A little bit of a lockup from Sim. Take a look at what else is going on this grid right now. You can see a lot of times quite tight on this timing tower, and there's this massive train behind Moz for P11 right now. Yukio and Ruben have exchanged. We're going to see combined with a good run of DRS, but it's going to be Impulse first now. But here comes Big Al. They've both overtaken Moz. Big Al and Impulse with a wheel-to-wheel exchange. There's contact. Big Al has had a bit of a slip as Impulse has touched him. Simdaga, Moz combined. They're all going to move on through. Impulse not feeling too thrilled with himself after that one. He's going to let Al back through, and some great sportsmanship coming out of Impulse there. This is going to really cost him, though. Gazier hunting him down. Things are still keeping themselves in a good proximity as well in this midfield. Wangod holding off Alex Bido. Panda keeping up. Domi is going to be looking to pull away from the McLaren in 8th and catch up to 6th position. 2.9 seconds the gap, sitting there in 7th position from 6th. We've had a yellow flag pop up through Sector 2, and that is going to be... Who is that then? It is Impulse. He's got no damage right now, which is great to see. No damage on that car. He is in the Mercedes, going to, I imagine, try to recover here. Meanwhile, we've still got some serious battling happening in this train behind Moz, who for a moment was in 11th position. He had been overtaken, we had seen contact, and he's snuck back through into 11th position to take back lead of this train. But you can see he has put a massive kink in this line. 10.7 seconds, 10.9, 11 seconds. It is absolutely growing, this gap, of course, to the points. And all of these drivers are not too thrilled about it. Alex Bido and, of course, Wangod in an exchange now. Alex Bido has dispatched the AlphaTauri for 4th position. Wangod looking to hold on. He's got to worry about Panda on his rear as well. And now Moz and Simdaga are having a wheel-to-wheel exchange. And there's the Renault. There's combined YouTuber getting through as well as Big Al. There's Big Al. Is he going to get combined through as well into 12th position? What a move coming out of the Haas here. There goes combined with a look back to the inside. A major cut coming out of the Renault there. A day late and $1 short if I've ever seen it. And now Panda has looked at, of course, Wangod. A little bit of desync, a little bit of ghosting action here happening between these two. Of course, that is a connection issue. Ghosting not enabled in these races. You can see Panda, Wangod, wheel to wheel now. Are we going to see the move coming out of Panda? Not just yet. Wangod holds on to 5th for now, but this action is intense all up and down this grid. And speaking of intense action, we have T-Mac within half a second of Trin for 9th position as well, but it's all about this battle for 4th. Here we have it. Panda looking to the inside of the AlphaTauri into the penultimate turn. Wangod with a lockup. Panda with a bit of a jolt there in the car as well. A lockup on the front right. Now coming through the final turn. Are we going to see this Red Bull dispatch the AlphaTauri, or is it going to be DRS for Vanguard stabbing off of Panda here? Let's see. Coming down the straight into turn 2. This is going to be intense. A big lunge coming out of the Red Bull down the inside of turn 2. It's wheel to wheel. Are we going to see a move around the outside from Panda? So far, so good, but it is Vanguard defending to the inside. You can't even see the front wing of that Red Bull just yet. This is very tight racing here in Russia, and we saw Panda. He has such good pace. We saw him in Singapore come together, of course, with, I'm trying to remember who it was right now. I do believe it was Freeware in that equation. We'll see if he's able to get himself into some major points positions here. 6th position, quite good for him here so far. Let's take a look at the position changes in this race. He started in 6th. He's held it in 6th. You've seen a couple of exchanges of drivers ahead of him. Ben the Bear and Revo. Revo started this race in lead of things. Now he is in 2nd on the back foot, but he is hunting down. We're going to jump on with him. He is hunting down, but real quick, Alex Bitto and Vanguard. There goes Vanguard up the inside of the Ferrari. And he is back, but is Alex Bitto going to have an answer for this? He looks for the wheel-to-wheel exchange around the outside. Nothing doing. Vanguard shuts the door, and Alex Bitto needs to be careful. He has Panda charging down this field as well. Domi up 12 positions to where he is in 7th right now, is catching on to this action, and he has successfully brought himself back into this train. Alex Bitto is not going to be too thrilled about the fact that he is losing out to Vanguard right now. He has Panda not too far behind him. Panda with a real quick look out to the inside there, making Alex aware that he is there, and says, I'm coming for you. And I want that position, and I want it now. Revo, I imagine, another driver who wants serious position. He was on pole position here. He's hunting down Ben the Bear. Ben the Bear needs to show major consistency here to beat Revo. Revo, of course, the Sauber Esports development driver. He is no slouch. He is leading this championship by a decent margin at the moment. Ben has had some struggles. He is the favorite to come, of course, to potentially beat Revo in some of these races. Right now, Domi, his teammate for this exchange, for this encounter, for this campaign, is within half a second of Panda. And there is just a massive trade for P4 at the moment, being led by Vanguard. Things still quite intense down in this fight for bragging rights just outside of the points. Combined is hunting down Simdaga. It's been quite the dynamic race. We're 8 laps in. Of course, if you are enjoying the broadcast, help me out there. I'm happy to have you all joining us. My name is Strifium here from Canada. Currently 7:10 a.m. for the broadcast here. Domi now is going to inherit a position as we have a couple of drivers jumping into the pit lane, and you can see the main and the key point here is that Revo has come into the pit lane. This is going to promote a few drivers. He's coming in onto these medium compound tires, Revo. He's looking for that undercut, and Ben the Bear is going to have to respond to this. I imagine everybody's going to have to respond to this. There's a big issue. There goes Vanguard. He's had a massive slide and spin. No damage on the front end as far as the eye can tell, but that is going to be his race. Well, absolutely frustrating for this AlphaTauri here to spin like that. Ooh, that is bad news. Bad news for the AlphaTauri. He has dropped into 8th position here, and after a superlative opening stint, I have to say he is not going to be too thrilled about that. Mac in 7th position with DRS. Gaining on the Ferrari. That's Trin in, of course, 6th position just ahead. And look at the speed that DRS can carry here, especially on a car that doesn't have it ahead. It is quite powerful and can bring these drivers up this grid rapidly should they have it. There we have it. Ben the Bear, Mick out. and Alex Bitto have all made the call to pit. Domi says, I'm going to stay out. And the big question is, Revo now on this grid, on these medium compound tires, a massive amount of drivers coming in off of these softs. Where is Revo going to land? Has the undercut paid off for him here in Sochi? Where is Ben the Bear? He is on his way out of the pit lane, but it is going to be Revo. Is he going to get him? Yes, he is. And the undercut has paid off for the Alfa Romeo, but Ben the Bear charging hard here is going to be very tight to the rear, and it's paid off, but it's paid off by only a couple tenths, but that is at the end of the day Revo overtaking Ben the Bear on the undercut, and he's going to be thrilled about this because he's got one job, and that's to pull away in the fresh air ahead. And this is exactly what he needs, and this is exactly what Ben the Bear is going to be shaking his head at, and he's got some serious work ahead. Now, combined YouTuber and Simdogga are now into 6th and 7th position, respectively here, as they have yet to pit in this race. Maz has joined the points battle as well as Gazieg. You can take a look at the stops on screen now. There are only 6 drivers in this race who have yet to come in for a fresh set of rubber, and I cannot believe the undercut for Revo there. It paid off so well. Ben the Bear now with DRS in this equation. He needs to maintain that DRS and do everything he can to get that position back, because if Revo gets a very good sniff of that clean air, or Ben the Bear, should he make any kind of mistake, that will be Revo and his extraordinary consistency through into another race win. Bitto, Gazieg exchanging now as Alex Bitto is on those fresh medium rubber tires. He is into that final points position, looking to charge back ahead through this field, and you can just see the loss of traction in Gazi's soft compound tires here. This will be 10 laps now. You can see the soft runners ahead. They've all chosen to come in, so I can only imagine for Gazieg it should be a pit stop here, but he's decided to stay out. He's going to go 11 laps on these softs. This is absolutely wild. Revo. Ben the Bear in a battle, as I've seen it. Ben the Bear, it looked like he had the lunge coming down into the first turn. Now he's going to have the lunge down the inside. Is he going to get Revo here? It's clean so far. Revo with a snap out in front of the tie driver. Of course, what a clean defense from him. And we have Ben wheel to wheel now with Revo, and he has so much pace in this racing point right now. It's wheel to wheel between these two. Still, Mikhal's taking a 3-second time penalty with the front row seat and the popcorn in the cockpit behind. He's just watching this all unfold by just less than a second away. But this is, of course, a heated battle for the lead of this race. Ben the Bear with DRS now on the Alfa Romeo. Is he going to have another lunge down the inside? He needs to pick and choose his battles here. He's not utilizing a little bit of that ERS right now. He's had a slight tap. What's happened? I tried to get the camera angles here. Ben the Bear has dropped off. Mikhal has overtaken him through into second position, and that move has cost him. Gazieg now, he's under major threat here as Wangod has a big lockup down the inside, and there's a lot of cars looking to collect the Haas. There goes the racing point of Domi as well as the Ferrari of Trin. There goes Domi on the inside of the Ferrari now here. This is such a tight battle between these two. Domi wants to cut through this field as fast as he can. Of course, they're on the same tires. And there goes Ben into the pit lane. Ben has come into the pit lane after his extraordinary battle for the lead of this race. He came together. He had a slight tap into the rear of Revo, perhaps losing an end plate, costing him that position. And I do believe it was a wing change and a fresh set of mediums for him as well. So this is going to be very, very costly for the tie driver. Wangod and PTR wheel to wheel coming through turn 2. Wangod on the inside now as we come through turn 3, and there's going to be the racing point of Domi. He is all dialed in for this. He's locked and loaded, and this racing point wants P7. He's got PTR just ahead right now, separating him and Wangod. Wangod holding well in this battle. All of these exchanges are providing us with some absolute serious intensity here around Sochi for round 7. Domi within half a second of PTR half a second of Wangod ahead, and Trin is in this battle as well, and the train is here in serious force. PTR has the DRS on the car ahead. Domi with a ton of speed as well, utilizing that DRS. Wangod is in trouble. He needs to get into that DRS of Maz soon. Maz is on some older tires here, and I think this is going to grant, of course, Wangod a unique opportunity, but there goes Maz. Maz is around in the Alfa Romeo. There goes T-Mac by him now, and is he going to get that car under control, and is he going to lose any more position as a result? And he is struggling massively as there is a ton of traffic coming through. You can see all of these cars, and you hate to see those types of incidents, but now it's Domi. Domi wanting that camera, wanting that spotlight. He's on the rear of the McLaren now. PTR on the inside as we come down through into turn 2. He's a little bit later on the brakes than Domi, but here comes Domi with a fantastic entry. PTR having a little bit of an issue finding that traction, and it's Domi through into 7th, and PTR, is he going to have an answer coming down through turn 4? No. Domi into 7th position now. Mikau is still keeping up with Revo in front of this race, and we've seen these two do many battles, of course. They've been driving together in a rivalry for some time. Oh, and what's this now? Simdog and Panda have had the exchange, as Panda now is into 3rd position, which is an absolute fantastic position for him. You can see Simdaga has made up 14 positions, but Simdaga in that Williams has also not come into the pit lane just yet here. But Panda off for a fantastic result should he keep things going at their current rate. In 3rd position is that Red Bull, and it's a very nice position for him to have at the moment. Ben the Bear is looking to move up through this field at a rapid rate. He was fighting for lead position just a few laps ago. Now he's trying to get his way back into the points, which is quite the turn of events, and that's just how things go in F1. And here we have it now. Speaking of turn of events, Domi down the inside of the AlphaTauri, wheel to wheel through turn 2. Is this going to be a clean exchange? It's tight. Wangod takes a penalty as a result. Domi sticking with him. Is it going to be a lunge for the Racing Point up the inside? Wangod with a superlative defense there. He even had that car nudged out just slightly to, I think, compromise the potential move for Domi there. Very neatly done out of the P6 driver for certain. Of course, if you're just tuning in, my name, of course, is Simon Strifium Raymond, hailing here from the Great White North of Canada. It is currently 20 after 7 in the morning. If you're enjoying the commentary, please help us out. Hit that follow button, because it's now Domi around the outside of Wangod here, utilizing that DRS. It's still wheel to wheel. There's a little bit of, well, smoke coming off of those burning rubber tires, because look at the lockup coming out of the defense on Wangod. Now Domi through into 6th position with a very neat and tidy move. I do not believe there was any contact there, but it is going to be PTR looking to keep things up with these drivers in 7th and 6th, and it is going to be DRS capabilities for Wangod as well to try and defend and switch back into that 6th position. We'll see what kind of run he can get here. Mikau still within half a second of Revo. Panda 11.3 seconds behind him, and Simdog, I have to say, is holding quite well on those 14 lap old mediums. He is looking for that one stop. He's got a couple more laps to go for that to come into serious play for him. And one key thing to note is we have not had any kind of full safety car. We're on lap 15 of contention, which means the clock is ticking for that, well, for that dynamic to actually come into play here. PTR has just stepped in it as well. He's taken a 3-second time penalty, and that's going to bring up the next topic of discussion here on the broadcast. Penalties in Russia. We've seen it throughout this race. We saw it on Tuesday in the European split. They come hard and fast when these drivers cross the line, especially when the grids are as tight as we're seeing this one. Wangod still keeping up within half a second of Domi, and lockups as these tires begin to get older are going to come into the equation more and more, and that couldn't be truer for anyone other than Simdaga here. He's currently on the oldest rubber And he is going to be staying out once again. And it's as I said, he's on that one-stop strategy. He's on that medium soft. So he's on lap 16 now. The big question is, what lap is going to be the most optimal for him to pit? He has quite a significant lead ahead of Alex Bido at the moment. 3.7 seconds, Alex Bido on the much fresher mediums. But there is a battle of strategy happening in this grid right now. There has been a couple of upsets, a couple of unique moments resulting in contact, and by extension, of course, debris and damage, sending a few of these drivers into the pit lane earlier than, well, I imagine they had anticipated. Combined YouTuber in 13th position. Let's take a look at the position changes that we've had in this race. We'll also take a look at the fastest laps, as there's not too much doing on circuit at the moment. 133.8 out of Mikau, the fastest lap time. You can see that Revo isn't too far behind him. A 133.882 out of him. Ben the Bear, that 134 flat. Position changes. Simdog is up 14. Domi has made up 13 positions in this race as well. Mikau's up 1, Panda's up 3. The 2 Red Bulls, of course, 2-3 for them. Very nice result. Bido's held it in 5th. You see a ton of red. It's a sea of red right now in this timing tower. Wangod, PTR, Trin, Ben the Bear, Big Al combined, Yukio, as well as Ruben, Maz, and Apollo are all down positions from where they began. Not a lot of drivers in this equation right now netting positions, and there has been the plug pulled for Simdaga into the pit lane. He's going to be, I imagine, getting onto some soft compound rubber now to go to the end of this race. Gap to leader right now is significant, as it is Mikau and Revo in a very hard fought battle. Domi has caught up with Alex Bido for 4th position. I imagine Alex Bido not too thrilled about seeing the Racing Point in his rearview mirrors presently. Combined has net a position as a result of Simdaga coming into the pit lane. Simdaga, where is he going to come out here? It's just 4 seconds shy of the drivers ahead, and he's on some very fresh tires here, so we'll check in with him in a few moments. Combined, meanwhile, within half a second of Big Al. Are we going to see the move here? Down around the outside. Ooh, it's tight between these two. There's still wheel to wheel. One around the outside once again. That's combined. Still exchanging. It's clean for both of them so far, but Big Al is holding on to that position. Domi and Alex Bido, meanwhile, Domi has pulled the pin and made it ahead of Alex Bido coming out of the DRS zone. And now, here's a big issue. This could be a crucial issue, as Mikau is keeping him locked down. Revo has just taken a 3-second time penalty. Mikau, around the inside, I should say. Around the outside for Revo on the defense there. Mikau is now looking very closely at Revo, and Revo, something might have happened here. He's taken a penalty, and this has really put the blood in the water for a shark like Mikau. Well, in this case, a bull like Mikau. He's seeing red, ladies and gentlemen. And he is on the charge. He can smell that penalty. Sector 2 yellow flag, and I'm not entirely sure what sparked it, but I'll tell you one thing. Revo and Mikau are fast approaching the teammate of the Alfa Romeo in Maz, who has not had the best run here. And Simdaga on these fresh softs, really quick to bring our attention to him. When he came out of the pit lane, it was 4 seconds the gap. Him and, of course, combined have been fighting, combined into 11th position at the moment. But both of these drivers, as a result of that fight, are under serious threat from Simdaga, and Simdaga has one thing on his mind and one thing alone, and that is that final points position for the moment. There could be more on the menu for him, as he's on the freshest rubber on circuit. Back to Wangod. Wangod has been in this train of battling all day, and now we've had an issue through Sector 1. The yellow flag, and I do believe there's a lockup and a major issue for Ruben. There's an entire front wing missing, and there's the safety car. This safety car has been deployed, and I'm wondering if that's as a result of Ruben or something else entirely. But the safety car has been deployed here on lap 19, as it was Revo and Mikau so far ahead of this grid. Panda as well. What is going to happen here? Domi almost went into the rear of the safety car there. Oh, very lucky here. The safety car is being overtaken around the outside in both cases, just stuck in the middle there. So now a massive amount of drivers coming into the pit lane. This race has just been flipped on its head. Absolutely flipped on its head. We know how crucial penalties can play when safety cars come out at this phase of a race as well. Things get bunched up significantly. Absolutely significantly here. I am shocked that we have a safety car at this phase of the race. It has been absolute clean running for most of these racers. Wow, I will say this though, it is going to give me an opportunity to catch my breath. Things have been very, very intense. Of course, thank you for tuning in, everybody. I absolutely appreciate it as I try to find my words here at 7 in the morning. Appreciate all the support as always if you're tuning in. Great to have you. Great to have you here. Big Al's just taking a drive-through penalty under safety car, and I'm trying to catch my breath as these drivers are taking these absolute game-changing penalties here. Revo has opted for the soft compound tires, as it is his option to do so. He is the leader of this race, and he has yet to catch this safety car. Panda is coming in here. Curious to see if he loses a position as a result of the double stack. He is going to lose a position in the pit lane. Or is he here? Domi. I thought Domi had already had his tires changed. Simdaga is in quite a unique position. And I don't know if he's going to be thrilled about this. He was in a very good running a couple of laps before this safety car was deployed, and he would be on fresher rubber should he have stayed out for that. I imagine Sim not going to be too thrilled about that. Now Big Al has had an issue, I do believe, coming out of the penultimate turn. That car is off with a major front left failure. It would seem that front left tire is off that car. Now let's take a look at the gap to leader. There are a few drivers on this grid who have been lapped, but for the most part, this is going to be a rolling restart for these racers, and this grid is going to get bunched up massively. And as I said, the penalties come the end of this race are going to play a massive role in this. Mikau, a 133.8, the fastest lap of this campaign, and I have to say it's been a very solid performance for, of course, the two Red Bulls. Up one position for Mikau, 3 positions in Panda's case for the 2-3 running. Revo, I imagine, has a little bit of stress at the moment because he has a penalty, and I am not entirely sure of the penalty situation. Of course, I don't want to take us away from action right now. I like seeing the cars race around. We'll check in with the penalty situation later. It's actually quite enjoyable for me, and I imagine a few of these viewers, to see the impact of the penalties coming through at the timing tower, to see those last minute drastic changes, the upset. It's quite exciting. It's quite thrilling, in my opinion. Let me know if you agree in the chat, of course. But things are bunching themselves up quite quickly here on this grid under safety car conditions, and you can see even Ruben's just taking a 3-second time penalty. Russia, very unforgiving on the track limits. Very, very unforgiving. You think Revo will suffer? Chat coming in with the opinions. Let us know your predictions for this race. Let us know. We still have potential even for another safety car. Wangod just took another 5-second time penalty. You can see now, under these safety car conditions, there's such confusion. Such confusion with the safety car. If a driver so much as puts their front wing ahead of another, there's an illegal overtake shown to another driver. And am I blind? Did we just see this and I'm completely blind? There is so much damage on the front end of Revo. What has happened to him? I have completely missed. I was taking a drink of water. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is how quickly things change in these races. Revo is now not going to be even remotely upset. Like he thrilled, excuse me. He's not going to be even remotely thrilled about this. Oh man, safety car in this lap. That is not the news that he wants. That is not the news that he wants. Mikau, however, the Red Bulls are thrilled. They are thrilled about this. Mikau is going to be leading the safety car charge. Wow. That's big news. Here goes Mikau. He's let it go. There's a back marker being shown. Of course, blue flags already. This is compromised. Panda. Domi on the charge here. Is he going to have a look at Panda? Is he going to be close enough? Here we have a look to the inside. He jumps back on the rear of that Red Bull, though. Mikau has already pulled a second out of these two. Revo. Oh, he's got damage. He's fighting now. He's had a big issue here. Wangod and him are exchanging PTR now. Looking at Wangod down the inside. Safety cars, man, they really throw a wrench in the equation. We are back in business, and the overtakes are going to start to come hard and fast, especially for the drivers that have the fresh rubber and the good pace with no damage. Speaking of damage, look at how much Wangod is keeping Revo honest here. He's got Revo under major threat. Revo needs to defend with everything he's got here, and I don't think Revo's going to try and pit at this. It's going to be so interesting to see. And there goes Ben the Bear, and Ben the Bear was fighting with Revo earlier. They've both had issues. Now wheel to wheel for Revo. PTR looking at all of this action. How's it going for these two? Wangod now on the outside. Wing damage for Revo, of course. There's only one choice for him. He's got to come in. Certainly he comes in here. Revo now on the outside. Wangod in 6th is going to keep him there. Wow, Ben the Bear through on the inside of PTR as well. We're watching PTR. Look at all of this action, and while he's having the spectator view, it's Ben the Bear moving through on his inside, and Ben the Bear is going to be so thrilled because this is a championship battle between Revo, Ben the Bear, and Mikau is in that equation. Mikau is going to be so happy to be in the lead of this race right now with these two fighting way, way further down the points. Emac tight to the rear of the Ferrari. Trin holding on to that final points position at the moment. And the Bear is within half a second of Revo, and with that damage you can see it on the front right end of that Alfa Romeo. He knows that that damage is there. He needs to pick and choose his battles though, and he's quite clean through here. You can see the lockups coming out of Revo. And I have to say, Revo's doing so well to operate with that amount of damage. That front wing is absolutely demolished. And here we have it now. PTR has had an issue, and that issue's name is Trin. Trin up the inside. This is going to really open up PTR now for T-Mac. So much battling on circuit after this safety car restart. I imagine all of these drivers have been given a jolt of new life in this race. And the Bear is so tight to Revo. Revo is still holding on to points at the moment. He's going to hold on to as many points as he can here because a pit would certainly see him out of them. Ben the Bear with that DRS is going to be looking for a charge, but somebody else on a charge is Alex Bitto on the outside of Domi into turn 2. Alex Bitto into the points now in that Ferrari. Ben the Bear around the outside of Revo. That damage is definitely going to come into play here. A little bit of a tap between the two. He takes the runoff. He comes back. Revo defends 7th position. Combined and PTR have exchanged. Wheel to wheel right now between Yukio as well. PTR, no damage on that car, but he is struggling on these mediums right now. The pace not coming through for him the way he wants, and Ben the Bear has not been able to dispatch Revo. He has not been able to dispatch this Alfa Romeo, and Wangod has pulled away 3.5 seconds. What a battle we're seeing unfold between the former leader of this race, the pole sitter, now with damage, the former front row sitters here in the midfield having a battle. There goes Ben finally getting Revo here, or has he? It's a big lockup from Revo there on the defensive lunge, and Ben gives him the space, but there's even more debris coming off of these cars. Ben the Bear back into 7th position, and there's a dive from Revo up the inside. I don't know if he was there or not, but that's big contact debris coming all over the place, and Revo has spun around. He is into 13th position now, and this is big news here in Russia. Ben the Bear now in 7th position is within, of course, 5 seconds of Simdog ahead. Wow. Wow. What has happened? What has happened in this race? It has all come undone for Revo. Trin there in 8th position has now made it ahead of Combined, and Combined has Yukio along the inside, and there goes Revo has left the session. What has Revo done? Combined in this final points position right now has a few drivers behind him breathing down his neck. PTR, T-Mac, all in a serious volley for potential points positions here, and we haven't even begun to look at the penalty situation in this one. Of course, stewards, ladies and gentlemen, will look into all of the incidents as the drivers will have the opportunity to report them. Yukio and Combined now having that exchange. A little bit of damage there on the front right end plate of Yukio here, and there's a yellow flag up through Sector 3, and I'm not entirely sure what's causing it, but PTR on these mediums, and there goes a retirement. What's happened? T-Mac. T-Mac has had an issue. I tried to jump on with Revo's car, but it's too far behind at the moment. I thought that it might have been closer, but I forgot what's happened there for a split second. And what's happened now? Alex Bitto and Panda have had a huge crash here in the penultimate lap of this race. No! The Ferrari and the Red Bull. What has happened? That is a huge collision. There is cars all across the circuit here. Oh my, what has happened here in the final phase of this Russian Grand Prix? It's massive upset and drama. Massive upset and drama here. That's a very interesting situation. That is for sure. Stewards are going to be all over that. That's a huge retirement out of 2 front-running cars. Mikau is 4.2 seconds ahead now in lead of this race. PTR and Yukio wheel to wheel now. Around the outside, here goes PTR on his teammate. He's on the mediums versus softs right now. What a carry of speed around the outside for him. Combined in 7th position at the moment. He has Trim just ahead of him in 6th, and as I said, penalties can play such a role in the end of this race. We are now on the final lap of this campaign as Mikau takes us through into turn 3. What a race it has been here in Russia. DRS. Combined, looking at Trin. hunt on the final lap for another 2 points here between these two. But that was quite the final phase of this race. I have to say, quite the drama from some of these incidents, I have to say. But it is going to be Mikal leading this charge. Combined YouTuber is still holding on with Trin. We'll jump on with that in just a moment's time. But Mikal in the Red Bull, coming now through the penultimate turn of this race here for round 7 in the Oceanic Division. He crosses the start-finish line. It is Mikal taking the race win here in Sochi. Domi crossing second position here. Wangod in third. Simdaga now around the final turn, under threat from Ben the Bear. It is going to be an exchange of positions at the line. Ben the Bear gets into third position. He gets that podium pending post-race review, of course, with Simdaga in fourth. Wangod in fifth position. The penalties are really throwing a monkey wrench in the equation for this, and there's contact, it would appear, at the checkered line between a couple of drivers, but that's combined into sixth position. Yukio in seventh, PTR in eighth. We're going to go down through the rest of the grid in just a moment, but that was a very, very intense race. So many highlights in that race, I have to say. So many highlights in that race. One safety car, a VSC, major drama, major upset, contact, overtaking. We had it all except rain, and I have to say, what a superlative drive, what a patient and collected drive coming out of Mikal there to take the win. And it's the 2 racing points next to him on the podium. That's Domi in reserve capacity, with Ben the Bear as well, who started this race on second, and it was what a recovery from him. But there it is once again, Mikal from third to first for him. Domi from 19th position, the Hungarian. 19th position to second here. His teammate dropping from second to third. That's Ben. Simdaga in fourth. 18th to fourth for Simdaga. 18th to fourth for Simdaga. Surely the driver of the day if it wasn't for Domi. Wangod in fifth, combined in sixth. We have Yukio in seventh, PTR in eighth, Trin in ninth, and Gazieg the Canadian. I am so happy to see it, considering it's 7:45 in the morning for Gazieg right now. Congratulations to him, 17th to the points. Ruben in 11th, Revo 12th position here after some very, very big upset for him. Maz in 13th, Apollo 14th, Bido 15th, Panda in 16th, T-Mac in 17th. That's Big Al in 18th. Impulse in 19th position here. Wow. That was a very, very unique race. That going to be talking about that one for quite some time now. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. That was, wow. That was a lot. But of course, that is going to wrap up racing action here for serious Sochi. I'm going to go Sochi action. Losing my word. Point proven. Can't find my words after that race. Absolutely can't find my words after that race. So much so that I am going to head on over and raid somebody, as we always do here. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody, and joining me on this early occasion. Of course, have a great evening, afternoon, or day, wherever you may be joining us, because we've got Tier 2 and Tier 1 action coming up later this evening for our friends over in the UK and Europe. That is at 9:15 p.m. GMT for Tier 2, 11:15 p.m. GMT for Tier 1. And of course, we'll be taking around Sochi as well with those grids. So it's a lot of fun this week. This has been now our second race around Sochi. We've got 3 more this week, 2 later today, with Club Division finishing things out tomorrow. But thank you again, everybody. My name has been, of course, Strifium here for this one, and I am very excited to go on and raid a member of the Formula 1 community. So, of course, tune in for that. Just finding someone to jump in with right now.